Your past is not stronger than God's purpose. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to ask you a question. What if the worst thing you've ever done is not the thing God remembers most about you? Many people in this room have spent years believing that because of addiction, prison, homelessness, broken relationships, or poor decisions, they have disqualified themselves from ever having a meaningful life. But the Bible tells a completely different story. The Bible isn't a book about perfect people. It's a book about broken people who encountered a perfect God. Let's start with Moses. Moses' life began with rejection before he could even speak. As a baby, he was placed in a basket and sent floating down a river because his mother was trying to save his life. He grew up feeling caught between two worlds, never fully Egyptian and never fully accepted as a Hebrew. Then one day, in anger, Moses killed a man. Fear overwhelmed him. He ran into the wilderness. He lost everything. For 40 years, he lived as a fugitive. Most people would have looked at Moses and said, his life is over. But God looked at Moses and said, your calling is just beginning. The man who thought he was running from his past became the man who would lead an entire nation toward freedom. Now think about King David. David loved God, but David also made devastating choices. He desired another man's wife. He committed adultery. Then, instead of confessing, he tried to cover it up. When that failed, he arranged for her husband to be placed where he would die in battle. His sin affected families, a nation, and his own household. Yet when David finally humbled himself before God, he found mercy. David's consequences remained, but his relationship with God was restored. His greatest failure did not erase God's promise for his life. Now consider Paul. Before becoming one of the greatest missionaries in history, Paul hunted Christians. He believed he was doing the right thing while dragging believers from their homes, throwing them into prison, and approving of their deaths. If anyone had reason to believe they were beyond redemption, it was Paul. But God interrupted his journey. The very man who once tried to destroy the church became one of its greatest builders. The man who spread fear became a messenger of hope. Then there's Peter. Peter loved Jesus with all his heart, but Peter was impulsive. He spoke before he thought. He fought when he should have listened. He acted first and reflected later. Then came the night when fear overtook his courage. The same Peter who boldly declared his loyalty denied even knowing Jesus. Imagine the shame. Imagine replaying those moments over and over. I failed him. I let him down. I can never recover from this. But Jesus didn't discard Peter. He restored him. And Peter became one of the boldest leaders the church has ever known. Now let me ask you something. What do Moses, David, Paul, and Peter all have in common? They all had a past. They all made mistakes. Some made terrible mistakes. Some carried guilt. Some carried shame. Some ran from God. Some fought against God. Some failed publicly. But every single one of them discovered something life-changing. Failure was not the end of their story. Maybe you've lost your family. Maybe addiction has taken years from your life. Maybe you've slept in shelters, on sidewalks, in abandoned buildings, or in places you never imagined. Maybe people only know you by your worst season, but God has never looked at a person and said, I can't use them anymore. People count your failures. God counts your willingness to come back. People see your record. God sees your potential. People remember what you did. God knows who you can become. Don't let yesterday convince you that tomorrow doesn't exist. Every recovery begins with one decision. every new life begins with one step. Every testimony begins with someone refusing to stay where they are. One day, someone else may be sitting exactly where you're sitting today, discouraged, broken, ashamed, wondering if life is worth fighting for. And it may be your story that gives them hope. They won't need to hear about someone who had a perfect life. They'll need to hear about someone who fell, but got back up. Someone who lost everything, but found purpose. Someone who believed they were too far gone until they discovered that God's grace reached farther than their past. So today, stop letting your history write your future. Your addiction is not your identity. Your homelessness is not your identity. Your criminal record is not your identity. Your failures are not your identity. Your past is a chapter. It is not the title of your life. If God could use Moses after violence, if he could restore David after moral failure, if he could transform Paul after persecuting believers, if he could rebuild Peter after denial, then he is more than able to restore you. Don't quit. Don't give up. Don't believe the lie that you've gone too far, because the God who specializes in redemption is still writing stories of hope. And perhaps the next great story is yours. Thank you, and may God bless each of you as you take the next step toward healing, freedom, and the life He has prepared for you.